Hey, how you doing? Welcome in. Monday morning, the sun is out, everything is good. I'm Craig Beck from StopDrinkingExpert.com, and in today's video, we are talking about the stages of alcoholism. How do you know where you are on the journey? There is a spectrum here of alcohol use disorders, and nobody goes from 0 to 100 in one um, linear, that's the word I'm looking for, one linear movement. It's a slow progression. And that's why I think alcohol is so dangerous, is that it's so painfully slow to get addicted to alcohol. You know, we often think about like things like heroin as being the real evil drugs and alcohol as being almost like a harmless social pleasantry. Yeah. But it's not true. You can count the number of people that heroin kills in the hundreds of thousands per year, whereas you can count the number of people that alcohol kills in the millions. So if you're talking about which drug does the most damage to society, it is alcohol, hands down. So why don't we see it with those eyes? Why don't we see it as the evil drug that it is? And I think partly because you can get away with drinking it for decades without having any really big problems. With heroin, within a couple of weeks of using heroin, you're in serious trouble and your life's going to start falling apart very quickly indeed. But with alcohol, it's basically a very slow poison and it'll knock decades off your life, but you won't see the impact so quickly. So I think it's important for your own journey to know where you are. Are you a full-blown alcoholic? Are you right at the start? Are you just a normal social drinker? Or are you somewhere in between? So let's talk about that today so you can get clarity on where you are in the stages. There's like 5 stages. And I'll tell you that I can help you up to a certain point. When you get so far down this path, there's nothing I can do for you anymore. You need medical intervention. You need to be put into a hospital and treated around the clock. Can you afford that? What's going to happen to your job if you have to go into hospital for your own safety, your own protection? So what I'm suggesting you do is you take in this information and you take action before you get that far. So let's talk about it. I posted up an article on the website stopdrinkingexpert.com today called Do You Understand the Stages of Alcoholism? Where are you now? So let's have a quick look at that and we'll talk about it. So stage 1 of alcoholism is the occasional binge. Generally, you don't have a problem, you socialize, but every now and again, it gets a little bit out of hand. You have a crazy bad hangover and you go out and you just binge. And it's happening a little bit more often, but it's not a huge problem in your life. It's just something that you've noticed is recurring a little bit more often, but not a problem. Now, stage 1 problem drinkers don't really come to me. Stage 1 problem drinkers are generally either completely unaware that they've got a problem or they're still firmly in denial. These are sort of people, if you said to them, look, I'm a bit worried about your drinking, they'd probably attack you verbally, not physically. That would be a bit of an extreme response, wouldn't it? That would be a bit of a Will Smith response. So they'll say things like, hey, keep your nose out of my business. I'm not doing anything to hurt anyone else. I'm only hurting myself, blah, blah, blah. So I very rarely talk to stage 1 problem drinkers. So stage 2 is when your alcohol use has increased significantly. You were starting to see some tolerance to the drug here, all right? So you're probably finding here that what you used to drink to get drunk no longer gets you drunk anymore. So you may have switched up a gear. You may have switched from beers and ciders and things like that up to wines and maybe the occasional spirit. So you've noticed that alcohol doesn't quite have the same effect anymore and you've had to jump it up a little bit. You're starting to see alcohol as an essential component of life at this point. You're starting to say, you can't have a meal without alcohol. You can't go on vacation without drinking. How do you celebrate your birthday without drinking? It becomes more ingrained into day-to-day life. And you start getting grumpy when it's restricted from you. This is the point where, if you went to a meal and you found out that the restaurant didn't serve alcohol for religious reasons, you'd be furious. You'd give it a terrible review on, um, TripAdvisor or something. You couldn't concentrate on the food because you'd be so angry that they were denying you the alcohol. So that's stage 2. And this is where people start coming to meet me. They've entered that area where alcohol is becoming far too dominant in their life. It's getting far too much of their runtime. They're thinking about it far too much. It's becoming an obstacle to a healthy life. Stage 3 comes next. And this is pretty much when you lose control. This is where it's seriously affecting your life. It's starting to cause arguments in relationships. You're starting to make decisions about where you go and what you do based on the availability of alcohol. So you won't go to a party if you know there's no alcohol there. You'll try and manipulate people in your life to do the thing that you want to do because you know alcohol is available there. Now, you won't consciously often admit to that, but really that's what's going on. And I used to be like that. My kids would, want to do this. And I'd think about it and think, yeah, but I can't drink there. So I'd persuade them to go and do something else where I knew I could drink. So you start thinking more about your ability to consume alcohol, and that ranks higher than what you care about the people you love. Alcohol is now firmly ingrained in your life. It's starting to cause you health problems. It's starting to cause you mental health problems. You're starting to plan your day around when you can drink. Now, I would say that this is when I meet probably 80% of the people who come to me for help. They've started to see the severe negative consequences of their drinking, and they're scared because they've tried to get back in control on their own. They've tried countless times to moderate their drinking, and they failed every single time. They're shocked, they're scared, they're worried. They're shocked because they always had this little safety net in their head that they could quit drinking anytime they wanted to. By this point, they've just discovered that they can't. And they're a little bit worried about this now. So that's when I start having conversations with people. So then stage 4, you're into full-blown alcohol addiction here. And you have a dependency. Basically, alcohol has now taken over your entire life. You cannot function without alcohol now. You need it every day. It's probably the first thing you think about when you get up in the morning. It's the last thing you think about before you go to bed at night. You're drinking at inappropriate times. You're taking risks. You're probably driving while under the influence. It's taken pretty much full control of you at this point. Stage 4, you're borderline now, whether I can help you or not. And it's leaning much more towards not, to be honest with you. If you come to me with this sort of description, if you have a Zoom meeting with me and you say, Craig, I'm in a bad state, let me describe my alcohol use to you, and you describe something like this, there's a better than 50% chance I'm going to say I can't help you. You've gone too far. Because I don't work with full-blown alcoholics. I work with problem drinkers. I work with people like you before it destroys their life. If you're like, I'm your safety brake. I'm the last thing before things get very bad. And then there's a 5th stage, which is complete alcoholism, complete addiction. And this is where not only has alcohol completely dominated your life, but you are now physically dependent on it as well, which means you not only want to drink all the time, but you have to drink all the time. If you stop drinking at this point, you'll have severe physical withdrawal symptoms. There's a chance you could die from these withdrawal symptoms. Not because alcohol withdrawal in and itself can kill you. It's just that you could have, underlying health conditions that are aggravated by this severe withdrawal. You could have a grand mal seizure because of the withdrawal symptoms. If you're in stage 5 of alcoholism, you not only need a doctor to help you, you need inpatient treatment. You're past the point where you can just go to your GP and say, give me something to help me and keep an eye on me. You're past the point of going to AA. Nobody can help you with talking therapy at this point, because this is beyond a psychological addiction. This is now a physical addiction. Your body has learned to live with alcohol continuously in your system. And quitting drinking cold turkey would be the same as trying to give up oxygen. It would be trying to, force yourself not to breathe again. Very, very quickly, you're going to have a dramatic negative response to that behavior. And the same is true of alcohol as well. When you're in stage 5, if you stop drinking suddenly, you're going to have a severe response to that. And the only place you need to be is in a hospital, because you're in a very bad place. So, that's the article that's on the website. You can go and have a look at that if you want to delve a bit deeper into it. What I want to do at this point is just encourage you to not let it get that far. Don't get to stage 5, because it's game over. That's your whole life is going to be blown up if you get to stage 5. You're not going to be able to hold down a job. You're not going to be able to hold down a relationship. You'll be financially destitute. It's a whole heap of awful and terrible stuff at that end of the spectrum. So hopefully today I described one stage that kind of felt like, yeah, that's where I am, Craig. And hopefully it's not towards the end. If you're in stage 1, 2, 3, maybe even the early stages of 4, do something now. Because let me tell you one thing that is a certainty. Problems with alcohol never get better on their own. They never just go away. If you have a problem with alcohol, it's going to get worse. It is the nature of the drug. It's like being in quicksand. If you're stage 3 of this, you're in the middle of the quicksand, and it's up to your belly button. And hoping that if you don't do anything, it'll get better is a bit like hoping that suddenly you're not in quicksand anymore. You are in quicksand. That you just got to accept it. And the only way to get out of quicksand is to have someone help you out, isn't it? You try and do it on your own. You kick and scream and struggle and try and get out of the quicksand. What happens? You sink deeper. Why? Well, because, the comparison to alcohol is that quitting drinking when you're that deep in is stressful. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. And what do drinkers do when they feel stressed and uncomfortable? Well, they drink more. So you create a spiral downwards. That's why the quicksand analogy is so good. What you really need is someone to reach out a hand and pull you out. And that's my job. So thanks for watching today. I hope that was helpful. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you get a notification when I go live. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Honestly, where do you think you are on the stages? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Let me know in the comments below. Or are you on your way back down? Have you taken action and are you finding your way out of this? I'd love to hear your story as well. Thanks so much. Enjoy your Monday, and I will see you soon.